만나기 전 누군가를 위해 노래한 적 없어 길어지는 대화 속 중심 못 차린 입이 울고 있어.
When served or presented tastefully, simple food and dishes can completely change our perception of them, as well as how our family members or even guests relate to them. It will undoubtedly make one feel more hungry. In today's video, I am attempting to share some ideas that I have used to present my recipes. Hello and welcome to Home Gupshup. These ideas today are merely to ignite some creativity in all of us and get the creative juices flowing. I hope you find these humble concepts enjoyable and straightforward. So now, let's get started. Breakfast is usually made in a rush, which is why we forget to pay attention to how it is served. I'm going to take our typical breakfast today and make colorful, bite-sized treats out of it. First, I added some color with pureed beetroot and spinach, which elevates the meal to a whole new level. To prepare them, we will need a special appe pan. One way to serve them is to simply drop all of them in a basket or a bowl, or the other way is to present them on multiple skewers on top of small cups of chutney. It's not unusual for us to serve kachoris or samosas to our relatives and friends when they come over. Well, these things are very easily available these days in nearby sweet shops in India. And we all have our favorite spots, don't we? I had tried making an air-fried version this one day and they turned out not so bad, I have to say. So even if one's getting food from a local shop nearby, jazzing up the way one presents it is a great idea. I used this traditional bamboo tray and lined with a fresh cotton cloth to present them. In addition to my serving tray, I also have a 2-tier cake stand that I use as a serving dish. I prepared some bite-sized chickpea and cucumber discs, which were supposed to be a fantastic contrast to the otherwise straightforward sandwiches I had in mind. I just divided the sandwiches into smaller portions. I served them using both the top and the bottom halves. On the lowest tier of this stand, I frequently serve nachos, chips or cutlets, and on the top I just put the dips. If you're having last-minute guests and have some leftover batter, then use this trick of making mini idlis directly on a pan. Just be careful to turn down the heat. The plan was to provide some side appetizers with tea or coffee instead of the main course. I also added some tadka to it with masalas for a tangy element. Now in order to serve them, I had some slightly long bamboo picks that are often sold for finger food. So I tucked about 3 to 4 idlis in each, so it's easier for everyone to grab. Be it for breakfast or just as a mini meal, we all make sandwiches at some point or another, don't we? Even more so for kids in our homes, these act as an emergency meal idea. Making pockets out of the bread by flattening it a bit first and then sealing with the small toothpick gives the sandwich a nice twist. Brush the outside with butter or oil and you could bake it, air fry it or simply toss on a pan. Food, whether bought from outside or made at home, if served differently can make a huge impact. Well, on this day, I made some sweet potato peri-peri fries for guests, but even if you are going to be using frozen fries that we easily get these days, I use the same technique of serving. For the peri peri fries, I simply cut the potatoes and baked them after coating a bit of flour and then added the peri peri spice mix later on. I bought these organic cones off of Amazon and they came in a set of 50 or even 100. So now I fill them in with whatever it is that makes sense to me. Back in the day, I also DIY'd this cone by simply using some baking paper. I folded it and tucked it on the bottom. One could tape it as well. I served fusion makhana bale in that one. You can find full recipes of all the things I'm sharing today in the many videos that I have on the channel. Please do consider watching for more ideas. Sometimes just to add some visual interest, we can turn things into small bite sizes. For instance, I wanted to serve these biscuits with cream cheese as a topping, but instead of serving the whole biscuit, I purposely broke them into random pieces and then added my choice of toppings. My guests actually appreciated this since no one likes to eat too much when it comes to snacks and starters, and they felt that smaller pieces was sort of lighter on their stomach. Besides, they found the end result to be pretty cute. To make a dessert that solidifies in a mold or a certain shape, such as any recipe involving gelatin, thick jelly or custard powder, all you need to do is arrange a small glass or a bowl in a tilted manner and then pour your ingredient into it. This is an additional example of incorporating some visual interest into the final product. With the festive season approaching, I thought of adding this quick idea. We can upgrade the way our table or food presentation looks by adding a few pieces around the served food or dishes. Over here, by making use of some leftover dough, to which I added a bit of turmeric for yellow color, one can quickly carve out tea light candle holders or diyas to place as centerpieces. These are very easy to make. They take about 15 minutes to bring together. I simply added some dried flowers around for a more festive look. After this attempt, I also tried making pink ones using the same technique. They create a wonderful festive vibe and brighten up the area. Considering how health conscious everyone has become these days, a lot of us either avoid eating desserts totally or prefer really small portions simply to beat the craving. So to achieve just that, I took advantage of the extra but colorful muffin liners that I had lying over. I made some instant rabdi that day and served mini gulab jamuns with it. The portion size seemed just perfect. It's all about getting creative over here. Use whatever that you may have at hand that meets the requirements. It is during the upcoming Diwali season that I plan on recreating these. You know the best part? There's no post cleanup required since we can simply throw away the liners. They are like paper cups but a bit more decorative and pretty. Serving pasta not as a main meal but as a snack, something more suitable for a small gathering of people where no one is going to really have a sit-down meal. This is an interesting take on serving the same thing in a slightly different perspective. I used store-bought pizza sauce on this one to make my life easier, and it took hardly any time to assemble this. This can very easily be reheated in the microwave while serving. A good idea always is to provide for certain things in advance. I wanted to arrange the centerpiece without going overboard and making it look too elaborate. So I simply collected a few basic essentials in a basket that also acted as a centerpiece. Paper napkins, coasters, toothpicks, salt and pepper shakers were a few things I decided to add here. This one time I was going to make achari vegetables and the original idea was simply to bake or grill them and then served them in a bowl with a nice yogurt dip on the side. It later dawned on me that if I was going to bake them anyways, why not do it using some skewers? Similar to the stick idea I shared earlier, this definitely helps with portioning. And when you serve the veggies freshly grilled with charred edges and a charred black looking stick, it adds to the appetite. To serve the skewers, I used small glasses to place them in, and also right before serving, I had drizzled on some sauce on top of the skewers. This black platter with its jagged edges has served as the foundation for many of my videos. It has enabled me to present food in a unique manner that goes beyond a traditional plate. This kind of plating brings out the best in every item on offer. Therefore, instead of purchasing our standard plates, think about investing in a flat platter. I also utilized this platter to present the cucumber chickpea discs. And not just that, any platter like this can also be used to serve sandwiches and other breakfast recipes. I made pizza bites too using our very own salty biscuits, and those were served on the same platter, adding a nice color and depth to the presentation. Making a yogurt drink along with some mint, ginger and spices is quite common, especially during summer months. This is a drink that can be served to anyone really. I also made a mango drink on the same day. It was common for us to serve drinks in large glass jars, but this time to make it slightly different, I took some bottles instead. These were long and didn't take much space on the table. Added the much needed height also to the table that brought about a brilliant variation. I also added a couple of handcrafted labels which I draped around the neck using a jute twine. Sometimes serving uniquely or differently only requires a change of the serving dish from what we usually opt for. For instance, in this case, serving layered chaat in a glass over a simple bowl. This makes the recipe look and feel so much more exotic than it usually is. Of course, serving in the traditional way has no match, but for a change, this can be a new idea too. I layered all the elements of the recipe while continuing to add the required spices on each layer. A cake stand helps to add the much needed height on a table and also makes for a new way to serve anything. So if there are any snacks that you wish to plate in a bowl, consider using a cake stand instead. This one time I chose this stand to place some freshly made and fried corn cheese balls. The other time I made use of a different marble stand to display mini appes that were on the table for the breakfast menu. At times, all we need is a fancy cookware that can double up as a serveware. Consider serving directly in a wok if you think it looks nice that ways. When moving countries, I hardly had anything in the name of crockery that could help me with serving my dishes. It was then that I got my hands on a couple of chopping boards that anyways served a functional purpose, and I used them in very many ways to act as platters. These are multi-purpose and look great on the table. You can also line them with a baking paper if you like. This one time I made quick assembly peri-peri pasta that didn't need much cooking on the stove. I served them in these huge IKEA mugs that doubled as bowls for me. The idea was to microwave the pasta to combine it well right before serving. Well, these were a few of the ways I attempted to provide new perspective and approaches to serving. I hope these were helpful to you too. I appreciate your time, and until we meet again, here's Home Gupshup signing off.